gloves we can just put a nitrile glove on the terminal and then tape it up and just leave it there. And then there will be no metal on metal contact because we are not blowing an ECU today. We are doing electrical work, but we are not blowing an ECU today. That is what we are not doing today. All right guys, so today we are going to do a big install on a little component, but it is big. So if you have a MK7 Jetta or even you golf boys, you need to watch this video. I took the time out of my day to thoroughly research this so that you guys don't have to do any research. This is the one-stop shop for all you need to install a boost gauge on your Jetta. So trust me, you need to watch this because the other videos I watch and the other information is ass, okay? Ass. No disrespect to anybody else, it was hard to figure out what I was doing, so we're gonna do it for you. But anyways, so the boost gauge that I got is actually the GlowShift boost gauge. It goes up to 30 PSI. The reason I chose this one is, number one, it's decently priced, and I also like that it has a lot of the colors. I could have gone with like a P3, I believe they call it a P3 like analog gauge, but number one, that's like a $300 gauge, and it's also digital, which I didn't necessarily like that. I like the mechanical sense of it because obviously when you're building boosts, you get to see the needle sweep, and it just makes you feel way cooler when you're driving. So yeah, so that's why I got this, but it comes in a kit. So what you get in the kit actually is it comes with a boost hose, which I believe this is 1/8 inch inner diameter. I think it's a 6-foot boost hose. Not sure if that's going to be long enough or not, but we will find out. That is the only thing I don't know about this yet. It comes with some mounting pieces. So you have some hose clamps, some washers, and some nuts, because depending if you have an aftermarket intake or you're just installing it on the stock intake, there's a little bit different method that you're going to be doing for this install. For us, I do have an aftermarket intake, obviously, so in my opinion, it makes it a little bit easier to do because you don't have to tap into the engine or any manifolds or anything like that. So I'll explain how we are going to do that as well. And second to that, another thing you're going to, we're gonna need to find that. Yeah, that'll be in a second, but so another thing that you're gonna need to order, so we have the EA211 engine. If you did not know that, now you know. And what we're gonna do for this is actually an adapter piece that goes under your boost sensor. And this is actually what you're gonna plug your hose into on the engine, and that's how you're gonna read pressure in your manifold. So you definitely need this if you do have, honestly, I just recommend going this way, whether you have a stock intake or aftermarket. I think it's just easier. This is the best way that I found that you should be doing it. Further to that, also, you obviously are going to need a pod. There's a couple of different pods that you can order for the Jetta. What I got actually is this. It's a 3D printed vent mount boost gauge pod from CJM Industries. Let me shout out the boys here real quick. CJM Industries. They definitely came through quick. Also, I have good review for them because it said it would take 5 to 7 business days to ship, and it arrived in 2 days. So shout out to them for that, because that would have been annoying to wait for that. And they also sent me a Blue Raz Airheads complimentary.
That's
boys,
huge.
Which is huge.
Not just the Airhead, but the Blue Raz Airhead.
Yes, specifically
come
Blue
on.
Raz, because that's the gas. I'm sure you guys can also agree. But long story short, basically, it's going to be a pretty straightforward install. All we're going to do is this is going to fit into the vent that you have on the top of your dash. And then you just kind of keep this screwed in there. And then everything hose-wise and wire-wise runs straight down from there through these little holes right there. So again, a couple of things that, and I'll explain what we're going to need or why we need these items when we get to it. But if you want to we want to make sure with the electrical part that we're doing everything right. You don't want your car to burn down. A couple of things that I got here is these fuse taps, which literally, so this part will just plug into your fuse box, and then you can run wires out of the fuse tap right here. And then we also got some 18 gauge automotive wire from AutoZone. You need automotive specifically, like it literally says for automobile automotive wire, so you will need that. On GlowShift, on the installation instructions, it tells you what wire gauge you need, so everything is really straightforward. And then we also have these connectors, which that's just if we need to extend any of the wires, which I'm unsure of if we're going to have to do yet or not, but it should be easy. And then lastly, well, not lastly, but I also got a crimper and stripper kit, so you can strip and crimp your wires, which you will definitely need this if you're doing what I'm doing, which I recommend you do. And then also this kit is really nice because it comes with a lot of like little grounding pieces and grounding attachments, which I also just realized I didn't even need to buy those. So, oh well. So you're definitely going to need that. And if you don't, this is a huge component. This is a multimeter. It's going to allow you to read the voltage in your fuse box, which is definitely going to come in handy for wiring it. If you have this gauge specifically, it's a little bit different for other gauges, but this will allow me to test basically what fuse place, where I need to put my fuse tap into in order to run the wires to power, and so that the gauge isn't just constantly on and draining the battery. Besides that, some extras you can get but don't have to necessarily. I got this, which is basically just, it's a tube that is going to protect our boost gauge wire or hose. And so this is just kind of like, you can imagine it as a heat shield. You can use it for electrical wire too. I just want to make sure everything's protected when it's under the hood. So with that being said, that's pretty much all you need, or at this point, to get started. And so we're gonna get started. I didn't want to touch this battery because, as per our last videos, the last time I touched this battery, I spent $2,000 on an ECU and my car was gone for 3 months, but we're gonna do it today. So we know we're gonna have lights on when the battery gets connected again. That's normal on a Volkswagen. That's just Volkswagen. What we're gonna do here, 10 mil. We're gonna disconnect the negative terminal first, and we're gonna make sure, I'm gonna make extra sure that it does not touch anything, because you do not want to power the circuit. So we're gonna put the terminal into a little glove and then just have it rest on one of these microfibers, and that should be that. So with that being said, here goes nothing. So there's a bolt right down here, there. That's what we're going to be taking off next. There's just a couple of plates, a couple covers that go to your battery that hold it in place. So we're going to do that real quick, and then you'll be good to take the battery out. So let's do it. I mean, the hole is right there, so I don't think we're going to be removing the battery tray, which is a lot better because that is annoying to just get back into the car, first of all. So at this point, we're pretty good. So now all we're gonna do is, since that's removed, everything is powered down. We're gonna get started on the sensor, doing the boost tap. And then after that, we'll move to the inside of the car to kind of start running the hoses and the wires. So we're gonna get set up for that real quick. So this sensor right here, this is the sensor we need. This is your boost tap sensor. Literally just goes into the top of your manifold right here. So it's really simple. First we're gonna do is we're gonna disconnect this, let's see, this little electrical piece. Yeah, so there's 2 more clips right on these sides that just kind of hold it down like a bracket. So you move these back, pop it out. So this is, they call it the boost sensor, also the map sensor. All this sensor does is reads your vacuum pressure in your manifold. So you can call it a boost sensor. It's the same thing. Boost is vacuum. So all we're going to do here is you have this little adapter piece, and as you can see, the flanges will mount up perfectly. So you want to make sure that you have O-ring down on the engine, And then all we're gonna do is slide this piece up like so. And if you guys can see, the holes match up perfectly. So let me see how it looks again. Yeah, that's the right way. Yeah. So, okay, so that was pretty simple. So it turns out, this is why you're gonna follow this video, because the videos that I watched of some of these guys explaining this part, now that I realized it, put their adapter backwards, and it's like a puzzle piece. It does actually have it's directional. So very interesting there, but so your nipple is actually gonna be facing towards the front, which is just gonna be a little bit weird for the install, because it's gonna have to run back there. But that's that right there. So now all you do is get your screws that came with the kit, and they're just gonna screw right into there, make sure everything's nice and tight, and then that is really that right there. So not really, honestly.
We could always change. It's not that hard to take out, so we could always change it.
Yeah, but I mean, you only gain like 2 inches, really. Yeah. But
let's not overlook 2 inches, dude. That's
2 inches is
that's
big.
pretty long.
Yeah, I would definitely be satisfied with 2 inches.
I would say 2 inches is plenty.
Yeah, it's almost too much.
Yeah, I would say so.
We're just gonna quickly get the plug back in so everything is tightened down, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and plug my vacuum hose back in because I don't want to forget about that. From here, we're gonna move to the inside of the car, and we're gonna start feeding the boost hose, and we're also gonna get started on some of the electrical stuff. All right, guys, so now we need access to the inside of the fuse box. You can use that fuse box if you want to. I wouldn't use that if I were you, because then you're gonna have to run all of your wires into the engine bay, whereas you just can hack into this right here, and there should be plenty of empty fuse spots for you to use, especially if you're using my method. So all we're gonna do right here is you have this little panel underneath, and this just pulls right out. So, and we're also gonna need to pop off this side panel, which if you're seeing how easy it comes out for me, that's because I already broke my top clip. And you don't want to do that either.
The good news is there's multiple tabs, so yeah, you have one to break. Tyler already used his get out of jail free card, but
yes, I used my free one. So. Honestly, I don't give a fuck if I break this.
Really, what you should have is a pry tool for like a plastic pry tool for interior clips, but we don't care.
I don't care, guys. I don't care, because that's just me.
Dude, you should never use a flathead in your car.
But if you care, that's on you, because I don't
Yeah, that's kind of a you thing.
Yeah. Listen, it's an individual decision. Like if you want to break your tabs, break your tabs. So now this is off. So that's easy. This gives us access to anything. So all we're gonna do now is, the first thing I want to do is actually run the boost or the hose, because I want to show you guys the electrical part of it. And I kind of just want to get the hose out of the way, put the battery back in, so we can show you guys which fuse we're using and which one is live and not. So all in all, I don't know if you're going to really be able to see this from under there, and we'll show you in a second. But the next thing we're going to do is, there's some foam in your firewall down here. You're going to take this foam piece out. You can probably see it. And then you see this little rubber grommet right there, right here. We're gonna punch a hole through that rubber grommet, and that's where you're gonna run your boost hose, and easy money. So you have the grommet out, and then you have this little piece of foam that is to the other side of your firewall. We're just gonna pull this out real quick. Sorry if you can't see this, but I'm doing this also by feel. So, and it's the size of the grommet, and then boom, now you can see if I can get this on a good angle. Now you can see through your engine bay right there. So there's a... Yep. So we are through, boys. We're through. Easy money. So this is further confirmation for you. So as you can see, what I did real quick is just run the hose through the grommet and through the little fire hole foam piece. But if you look in the engine bay, I don't know if you guys can see that hole right back there where you see light. That's what we're poking through right there.
Oh yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, so.
That's easy.
Just real quick, so like I said, all we're gonna do is feed it through right here, and that's gonna pop up on the other side.
And I'll just grab it.
And then we'll just push this grommet back into place, and that's job done.
All right, boy. Yeah. What I was just doing was I ran this vacuum line, I ran it underneath this air box in here, and then you can kind of see it right here. It's running. It goes underneath this cover and then into the firewall.
I might backtrack just a quick second and use this little hose protectant real quick, which it's cheap, it's easy, and it'll save you from melting your tubing on the car. But okay, so off camera, we ran it so that can you point to that? Yeah, so this is actually so this is a cover that Evan just put on the boost hose. You can literally get it from AutoZone. It's a couple bucks. I think it's like 3/8 or 1/2 inch size. And then we just put the rubber tubing in there and then ran it underneath the intake so it pops out right here, as you can see. Looks super legit, just like all the factory wiring and everything. And all that's gonna do is just protect you from heat, so you don't have to worry about your rubber getting too hot and
it's a safety measure. So like,
and it looks
I'm
good.
Sure there's someone that's like, oh, you don't have to do that, which you're probably right, but we did, because it's just a added safety measure that gives a little peace of mind.
You just want to make sure you get the shit all the way on there.
So this is attaching to that piece that had the O-ring you was talking about. It's sitting right here, and then this is the stock sensor.
I can't tell the difference between what we did and what Volkswagen did because it looks so professional. Honestly, these are so small you can do it with your hands, but it's just easy this way. And then you go, make sure it just gets around this little nipple. So I think we're good with that right there. So
you gonna shine the light?
So all we did there, guys, I'm gonna just move this up a tad.
Now that.
And you would never know the difference. It's like somebody installed it from factory. So officially we are tapped into the boost. Like we're tapped.
Damn.
So that's hype, actually, very hype. So what we're gonna do right now is we'll start on the electrical part of it, which that's gonna be pretty straightforward as well. But first thing we're gonna do is actually reconnect the battery. And that will allow me to show you guys, which fuses are hot and everything like that, and which fuse we're gonna use. So let's get that installed. Here's the plan of attack. I'll tell you guys what I'm supposed to do here. So this right here, I don't know if you can show them this right here, this vent on top of your dash is where the pod's actually going to go. And what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna take off this little metal plate right here, and this will allow us access to this vent. Reason being is because we're actually gonna have to tap into the duct underneath this in order to run our wires into the fuse box right under here. And then we're also gonna have to obviously run the boost hose down through this and out. So this will like kind of go up underneath the car, come up through there, and plug in right there. So all we're doing is taking this off for access. If you have a different boost gauge, it'll be different. But if you got this one, this is what we're gonna be doing. So, and then also we will be using this bolt that I'm working on right now as a grounding point, because you can ground your anything electrical to the frame of your car. All right guys, so hopefully I don't crack my windshield doing this. So we're just literally gonna pop this out now. Hopefully it doesn't break, fuck. Maybe I do it this way. That's not gonna work. It just clips, but I just don't wanna. I need like almost like a smaller screwdriver, honestly. All right, guys, so all we did is we ran the vacuum hose. So obviously it comes out of the grommet underneath the floor, like through your firewall. And I ran it, if you guys can kind of see it in there, it's hard to see, directly up and through the left side. So it kind of comes out this side panel. And so we did have to take off this piece of trim, and then we just ran it up through here, through the holes that we drilled, right through the side of the ducting. So we tapped into the duct. And as you can see, it should probably work perfectly. So this line is exactly as long as you need it to be. This was a 6 foot long hose, I believe it was in the package. So we're about to, it's gonna be a tight fit, but I think it's gonna be perfect the way we ran it. If you guys are worried about it, just go get a 10-foot hose or whatever, and then you can just cut the line. But long story short, everything worked out perfectly. So next what we're gonna do is we are basically going to install this little vent piece right here, and everything should go pretty smoothly from there. And we're gonna run the wires back down through that same exact hole that we just came through, hopefully. We might need to ground it out a little bit more, which is not a big issue, but we're thinking we have enough space, so we'll get to that. So as you can see here, Evan just fed the wires straight through the same place where we put the boost gauge hose or the vacuum hose through. So just gonna keep pulling these through, and then it's all gonna come together. There we go, that side's in, that side's in. And then now we just wanna make sure this is exactly where we want it. And boom, boom. Hell yes, dude. I do think we might have to extend the wires, because now that I'm looking at it, the wires are definitely gonna be tight as well. But what do you think?
Fire,
dude,
bro.
That's so legit.
That is sick.
That is so legit already. Fast and Furious. Yeah, I actually have a 20-speed gearbox, like in all the movies. They're just always shifting, dude. Like R34 with a fucking 20-speed. All right, so that's that end of install. No, just kidding. I mean, technically, it does work. Like if we turned on the car right now and revved it, the boost gauge would work. So if you have a mechanical boost gauge with no backlit LEDs, you're done. You're done already. Like you did the install, you just got to put everything back together. But we are cooler than that, and we have LEDs that change colors. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the wiring part. So, all right guys, so I'm gonna be showing you the electrical side of it now. So first things first, what we're gonna be doing is you wanna obviously turn it on. You have your voltage plugged in here and your ground plugged in here, and we're gonna get the backlit for you. And then I need DC power, and then I need this selected. So this is going to read right now is your voltage. A really easy way to do this is you can just ground it to any literally any metal on the car. So I'm just going to ground it on that little bolt right there. And then I've already picked out the fuse because I did my research, but you'll see in a second you have no power, and that's testing the fuse right there. And then if you turn on the accessory, let me show you guys, you now have 12-volt power. So you're going to be using an empty fuse spot to plug into. You can just unplug a fuse and use those fuse wire taps and then replug in your fuse. The only reason why I didn't do that is because, to be honest with you, Volkswagen does not have any fuse diagrams online, and so I didn't know what I would be unplugging. And there are some major electrical components that I just simply did not want to mess with, did not want to, you know, there's some control modules in there that probably you shouldn't be unplugging the fuse for. That just creates more risk. So I'm not going to be unplugging any fuses. There's plenty of empty fuse spots where you can plug in the fuse adapter. We're going to ground the black to this nut. Actually, we're just going to have it go onto that nut, which is pretty simple right there. And then we're going to use the, I believe it is the red and the orange, and we're going to literally just plug it into these two fuse locations right next to this 7.5 fuse. All right, so we crimped the wires into the fuse tap right here. So this is just going to allow us to put the fuse in now. All right.
Big brain, here we go.
Wait, so big brain moment is we're going to go up here to this one. Okay. Okay.
Yo!
Let's go!
Let's go!
It fucking changes too. Let's go,
Fuck
baby.
yes, dude. All right, you got to give a
We're
recap.
good, we're good. All right, so real quick, what just happened is you read the instructions on the Add circuit, and what you have to do is you actually need to plug fuses into both sides of the Add circuit. So Evan did some testing and trial and error, and we have 2 fuses on each Add circuit. If you can kind of see it in there, it's a little bit hard because they're sideways.
So you can see, yeah, it's sideways, but there's a fuse on this side as well as the back side. You can see the purple right there a little bit. It's out of focus, but you need to have 2 in to complete the circuit. So we did that with the red wire, and that gave us power, but you couldn't change the color on the gauge. And then Tyler added the second one up here with 2 fuses. And now we have
it's good.
Power, and you can change colors.
Boys, let's go. This is hype. This is hype. So
made us sweat a little bit, but
yeah, but I mean that pretty much wraps it up though. Like that is the boost gauge in. Hell yeah, boys. Hell yeah. All right, ready? We'll give it a couple revs. Woo. And that's that. Damn. But anyways, guys, so that pretty much concludes our install on the MK7 Jetta GlowShift boost gauge install. If you guys like what you saw there, just like and subscribe to the video, okay, or to the channel, whoops. But anyways, if you have a MK7 Jetta, I highly recommend doing it the exact same way we just did. It's professional, it looks OEM, everything works perfectly, and I think we really kicked this one out of the park. So officially, I think that's 3 successful installs for the channel, Evan. I would say that one went pretty flawlessly.
that one went well. I mean, there's a little troubleshooting, but there's never going to be an install without troubleshooting.
There's always troubleshooting. So I think that one is probably one of our better installs to date. So I'm happy that I didn't blow my ECU.
And that was the first install of that kind. Like I said, I've never done anything like that.
Electrical install, but no ECU blown, no lights on in the car. And we troubleshooted it and got the lights working perfectly. So all in all, it's a win for the day, boys. So now the boys are headed to get some Chipotle. We're about to smash with the victory feeling. So it's going to be a victory dinner. And yeah, we'll see you guys for the next install.